being like, am I going to die and I need to hide this? I cannot be like this. But of course, it's caused by TikTok. And that's what's frustrating to me, okay? You might be taken seriously more easily than if you're a woman or a teenage girl during lockdown going to the doctors with that. It kind of shines light on how probably people have been getting the wrong treatment for a long time because we just don't understand tic disorders enough. Hi, welcome to Boneitch. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Luca and I make videos about what it's like to live with Tourettes. Some of them are more educational videos, some of them more fun, light-hearted, and some more like opinion-based pieces, like this one's going to be. So if you are interested in any of that, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified whenever I upload a new video. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, which is, I don't know, I can't really grasp that. I started this channel I think in July and I never thought that I'd get to 1,000, let alone this fast. And at 1,000 we're going to get a community tab, so I'm really excited for that. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you have, comment down below that you did. I mean, I'd love to read that. I'd love to know who these people are that are watching these videos. Yeah. Anyways, I had a completely different video planned for today. As always, I was going to talk about getting diagnosed, how to get about getting diagnosed, what to expect, when to go to a doctor, all that stuff. But I was procrastinating, ADHD life, of course. And as I was clicking through different tabs, I saw my Google Trend Alert on Tourette's, and I saw these news articles about this surge of teenage girls getting diagnosed with Tourette's and getting tics. I already saw this article by Wired, I think a few weeks ago, shared in one of the Tourette's groups on Facebook, and I read it early in the morning and it kind of bothered me. So I've been kind of avoiding this subject. Now that I saw this other article and the other articles, I kind of felt that I did want to talk about it. So all of these articles are about how during the last year, more and more people, teenagers mostly, have been diagnosed with a tic disorder or Tourette's, or have been experiencing tics. And if you are someone that can relate to that, who has experienced that, I'm so sorry. I hate that for you. I know what tics are like, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I think the way that the media treated this was a bit lousy, a bit lazy. I don't know. I hope that the quotes by some of the professionals was misquoted, because it seemed a bit weird. Anyway, we're going to go into it. I was really like doubting whether to look into the Wired article first or the Vice article. I think we're going to look into the Wired article first because it sparked the most emotions. I've been thinking about this for at least a week. So yeah, I'm just going to read some parts of it, and I'm going to explain why I have some issues with this article, all right? So the article by Wired is called "The Complicated Truth About TikTok and Tourette Syndrome." A letter in the British Medical Journal suggests that TikTok may be to blame for a spike in Tourette's diagnoses in teenage girls. But the real story is more complex. Now, the article starts with a story about Eliza, who's a teenage girl who's been experiencing some tics and who has started sharing her story on TikTok, and how that has been a positive thing for her and for many people that were watching her. But the rise of Tourette's content on TikTok has also sparked a controversial medical debate. Earlier this month, doctors at Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children warned in the British Medical Journal that they were seeing a significant rise in the number of teenage girls who ordinarily have Tourette's at a much lower level than boys in the early months of 2021. There's some concern that social media and websites such as TikTok that promote the sharing of videos of influencers with symptoms may have a part to play. Others researching Tourette's and tics responded, saying we could be seeing a 21st century equivalent of the Middle Ages dancing mania, when people began suffering from attacks of spontaneous dancing, which has little cause, and none of them were available to comment. This is still just a theory, and it's unclear what the mechanism for such a phenomenon might be, or how it would fit into our limited understanding of the causes of Tourette syndrome. It's impossible to pin the blame on social media. One of the main causes of Tourette's is believed to be anxiety. And we're not exactly living in normal times right now. Tourette's is a functional illness, says Chowdhury. It has a purpose, which might be to release anxiety or let off steam. Had those already anxious teenagers worried about the spread of the pandemic not seen people with Tourette's on TikTok, their anxiety may have just manifested in a different, potentially more damaging way. Now, the article continues with saying some of the plus sides about Tourette's representation on TikTok and other social media. And that's good. I mean, I like how they do that. Again, I'm going to link the article in the description box so you can read it for yourself. But the parts that I just read out loud are the ones that I kind of want to focus on because I think that they are important. So the first thing that kind of trigger some red flags in the back of my head is the part where they say that more girls are getting diagnosed and that's uncommon. And it's true that there's a genetic component to Tourette's which makes it more likely for boys to get Tourette's. I think it's quite interesting that they kind of only focus on the girls in this article and not on, in general, people are going to the doctors more saying that they have tics and Tourette's, because it's not only girls or women on TikTok and on social media that are interested in Tourette's. But even that, I don't want to look past it, but I've kind of learned to do that. And the fact is that girls and women are often underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed a lot. Look at autism and ADHD, which are disorders that are quite closely linked to Tourette's, especially ADHD. And I'm always a bit wary when I see doctors, physicians immediately react with disbelief when suddenly there are more women getting diagnosed with a certain disorder and immediately blaming it on hysteria or something like that. When it's a fact that the research is not there, even though, yes, there is a genetic component to it. The fact that women are diagnosed much later does make sense if doctors already assume that only boys get this. The same with ADHD. Women are far more likely to get diagnosed with depression or other mental health disorders and get diagnosed with ADHD way later in life, like well into their teens, when boys are usually diagnosed when they were still quite young. So maybe this social media presence of women, of girls on TikTok, on social media, has given people with Tourette's the representation to recognize themselves and actually seek help. And maybe this is a whole group of people that were underrepresented for years. Now, the next problem that I have was, and maybe it was misquoted, and I felt a bit, I don't know, a bit hesitant to talk about this because I don't want to contradict a medical professional, because I'm not a doctor. This is just my personal opinion. But there was the Tourette's is a functional illness to release anxiety or to let off steam. Now, I don't know. I mean, Tourette's is a neurological disorder. It has psychological, psychiatric components to it. Stress and anxiety can make it worse. But Tourette's in and of itself is not a coping mechanism. It's not a self-soothing thing. However, there are forms of tics that are functional disorders, such as psychogenic tic disorders, psychogenic movement disorders, that are caused by stress, by trauma, or something like that. So it could be, and I hope so, that maybe this doctor was misquoted and that he was talking about how perhaps during this time of lockdown, people have been going through a lot of stress, and that has caused a rise in psychogenic movement disorders, and that was the cause of it. Not that in general tics are psychogenic or more of a psychiatric, psychological disorder, when in fact it is a neurological disorder. Now, I want to make clear that by saying psychogenic or neurological, I'm not saying that one is more valid than the other one. I just think it's important to make a distinction between the two, because whether you have a disorder caused by something neurological or something psychological or psychiatric, that distinction, that distinction is up. That's quite an important distinction to make with regards to treatment, with regards to how to tackle this. Now, before I get no matter what your tics are being caused by, you are still valid. I in no way want to take that away from you. I think that makes no sense. The only purpose of these diagnostic labels are to help clinicians, to help specialists better treat you. And I think that it's all in your head type of rhetoric is extremely harmful, because whether it's all in your head or caused by a genetic deficit or whatever, does not change the fact that you are suffering from actual that does not change the fact that you are suffering from these symptoms and that you deserve help and that you are valid. The problem that I have with this is that it kind of reinforces the idea that Tourette's is a mental disorder, and it undermines the importance of recognizing actual psychological, psychiatric disorders and getting them help and calling it just Tourette's. It doesn't help anyone. So that's the important distinction that I want to make. And that's why I felt that I really wanted to make a video about this. So now looking into the Vice article, that was the one that I got the Google Trend alert for. It was called Teenage Girls, again, teenage girls. Like, boys are, you know, they're just cool. They have legitimate Tourette's, but girls, they just watch too much TikTok, right? The Vice article. Teenage girls are developing uncontrollable tics during lockdown. I mean, uncontrollable tics, all tics are uncontrollable. That's the definition of tics, but we'll look past that. Psychiatrists are describing an explosion of tics as more and more girls are sent home for twitching, shouting, hitting, and collapsing at school. And again, it starts with the experiences of some teenage girls that started experiencing tics at school and their story. And again, I feel for you, and I can only imagine going through lockdown as a teenager, going to school, experiencing tics and for the first time, and going through all of that. That must be really hard, and I hate that for you. I really hate that for you. Second paragraph. These girls are a handful of the many female adolescents. Adolescent. I don't know how to say that in English. Of the many female teenagers, why not just teenagers, in the UK who have developed tic disorders like Tourette's during the pandemic, conditions that are categorized by repetitive and involuntary sound, movements and sounds. Great Ormond Street and Avellina Children's Hospital revealed in a recent report that they're receiving 3 or 4 referrals for teenage girls a week. Before COVID, they had no more than 6 per year. This is described by psychiatrists in the report as an explosion of tics. 14-year-old Sadie from Somerset sat in her room terrified when she realized she couldn't control her neck or tongue the night before returning to school in September. I was really scared and confused, and I thought, am I going to die? She says. Then I decided the best thing to do was hide it. Do you understand that? Like how I get frustrated by these articles? Because there's a teenager in a room not being able to control her own movements, and whether it's caused by something psychogenic and stress, or Tourette's and something neurological, some articles put a spin on it like it's TikTok causing this. There's someone in their room being like, am I going to die and I need to hide this? I cannot be like this. But of course, it's caused by TikTok. And that's what's frustrating to me, okay? And I don't know, maybe I'm looking too much into this, but I can't but help. And this is something I didn't even point out with the previous article, the Wired article, that the story about how people in medieval times all started dancing because of some psychogenic disorder. I mean, they're not saying that with these words, I think, but they're pretty much talking about mass hysteria caused by social media. And then the fact that they're only talking about girls and mass hysteria makes it I hate that. I mean, hysteria in and of itself is a very misogynic type of term. I'm not sure. Wait, do they say it? Yes, in the Wired article. In the same way there was hysteria in different centuries, there's outbreaks of tics. We don't know enough, and I'm not saying this is hysterical or made up. I'm always keeping an open mind of it. If you don't know, the word hysteria comes from the word of womb. The womb, so the idea that the fact that you're physiologically a woman makes you prone to being hysterical. So the whole subtext of this article is just wrong. And you know what? I'm just going to stop reading these articles. You can read them for yourself. The point is that there's a fact that there are way more teenage girls getting referred because they're experiencing tics. That's a fact. There's a fact that Tourette's, TikToks, and social media, I guess I'm part of the problem, are getting more popular. And there's a fact that we are living through quite difficult times. Now, an easy conclusion would just be that it's caused by TikTok. But I think that's just such a weird and easy conclusion to make. Now, and this is just my hypothesis. This is just my theory, is that teenagers in general, young people in general, are hit way harder than most other people by how hard social distancing and this lockdown has been for them. They are going through a lot of stress, and they are teenagers. I mean, I'm almost 31 and I'm in no way stable, but I know what it was like to be a teenager, and that stuff's hard. That stuff's hard no matter what. At the same time, there are people with tics on TikTok. So my theory is that there are two causes at the same time. One of them is that there are way more genetically female people that have Tourette's than the theories have predicted. Which would make sense, because apparently there are way more women with ADHD than we thought 10 years ago as well. And if these two disorders are linked, then it makes sense that there are more women with Tourette's than we actually thought. But maybe Tourette's in women presents differently. And again, this is just my speculation because it's just my story, but I know that when I started testosterone, as a trans person, my tics became worse. So there might be a hormonal thing related to it. I don't know. Could be. Is there research about this? I looked it up. So maybe there are more women with tics and Tourette's, but presenting differently than was first expected. And because of that, they are underdiagnosed. And now that there are quite a few of female content creators that are getting more well-known, people are recognizing themselves in that. And yes, that might trigger their tics to present more outwardly instead of maybe inwardly. Talking about like mental tics instead of more visible tics, which could be a social thing. Maybe women are trained to not show their tics, their Tourette's, and are quite good at hiding them. The same as with autism, where it's shown that women with autism usually don't appear autistic. I hate that term. I hate for saying that, but are better at masking because of the social pressure to conform to being normal. Same with ADHD, not presenting their symptoms outwardly. Maybe women with Tourette's usually experience their tics more inwardly, and because of the reassurance they get from TikTok, from other content creators, from people they look up to, they feel that either their brain triggers them to have more visible vocal tics, or they feel somehow, even subconsciously, more comfortable ticking aloud, and then because it all of a sudden starts to come out and it's scary, it's overwhelming, and they need to get diagnosed, right? And then maybe a part of it is psychogenic. Could be. It reminded me of this. People that are interested in Tourette's and are browsing YouTube on Tourette's probably have seen this school where all of a sudden people started developing Tourette's-like symptoms, but it appeared to be psychogenic, or at least they could not find another medical explanation. It could be psychogenic, but how do you know that which people's tics are psychogenic and which people's aren't. I mean, I was going to do a whole video about getting diagnosed with Tourette's, and the fact is that there isn't really a test for Tourette's. They kind of rule out other things, then they just check if you fit the criteria. But there isn't like a blood test or a brain scan or anything. So if you as a, I don't know, 25-year-old man go to a neurologist and say, I've had tics since I was a teenager and I can't control them, and when I'm stressed it gets worse, you might be taken seriously more easily than if you're a woman or a teenage girl during lockdown going to the doctors with that, right? Even though either of them could have a neurological disorder and either of them could have a psychogenic disorder. Both of them serious enough to cause their body to do uncontrollable things. Like that girl in that article said, I thought I was going to die. It is a serious thing. And whether it's neurological or psychogenic, it deserves proper treatment. And a treatment for a neurological disorder is going to be different than for a psychogenic disorder, right? So this just makes me think on how it kind of shines light on how probably people have been getting the wrong treatment for a long time because we just don't understand tic disorders enough. And I just hate it that it's being pushed into this narrative of being caused by TikTok, when I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I've made I've made a critical video, and I'm critical on some of the content on TikTok, but I think in general, before you're actually going to go to hospital, and most people are not going to be, I don't know. The weird thing is that with everything going on in the world and everything wrong that we know with neurological, neuropsychiatric disorders and the late diagnosis and misdiagnosing of women, that the first thing we think about is, oh, it's that social media again. It's, I don't know, it's worrying. I don't know, I've probably been, oh my god, I've been filming for so long and I have to edit this and I've been rambling so long. I have no idea if this makes sense at all. I might have to edit it and I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Am I the only one getting frustrated about this? Oh my god. If you got diagnosed with Tourette's and you feel comfortable, did you get any questions about whether or not it might be caused by stress or trauma at all? I mean, I'm pretty sure, because I'm old enough now that I'm understanding my brain. I've got enough of a grasp on my brain and my psyche to understand that my tics have always been there, and I don't think that they are caused by something psychological, but I have mental health issues as well. I mean, I also have ADHD and other, neurological things that are linked to it, but I don't know. I might have been misdiagnosed. I don't know. Have you? How would you know? How does anyone know? It's frustrating. Do you think TikTok causes Tourette's? What do you think? Honestly, what do you think? I'm going to shut up now. I'm so sorry. This has been such a ramble. I don't know. If you're still here, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and my idea is maybe to do a live stream at 1,000. I don't know. Would you be interested in that? What would you want it to be about? And I don't know. I'm scared. I'm going. Okay, I'm going. Love you all so much, and I hope to see you soon with next time a well-scripted, better. I don't know. I'm stupid. So, well-scripted video, and I hope you have a great day wherever you are. Love you all so much. Bye.